at the police station.
What happened?
I had an intruder, honey. It's a long story, and I shot him.
What was? Who was it? Who was
In my house, he kicked down the door, and honey, it's a long story. I'll
it?
explain it to you.
God!
I just
Who was it? Who was
His name is Mo. Um,
This is the interrogation of Thomas Lienau. I will give you the context before we continue. On the evening of July 16, 2015, Thomas received a call from J.R. Najim. Thomas owned a house and lived in the basement. J.R. rented a room from Thomas in the house. Thomas meets J.R. in the house and he sees J.R. with his brother Mohammed arguing. They were threatening to kill each other, and Thomas believed at the time that Mohammed was high on drugs. Eventually, they both leave, and around 5:30 p.m., Thomas locks the front door. About a half hour later, Mohammed pounded on the front door and tried to knock the door down with his feet. Thomas receives a text message from a neighbor advising someone is pounding on your front door. Thomas contacts JR and says he needs to come and get Mohammed. The pounding then stopped and Mohammed left. As the evening goes on, shortly before 10 p.m., Lienau was home alone in his basement when he heard a loud bang and footsteps on the main floor. He takes his rifle with him and he meets with the intruder, and without intention, he pulled the trigger, shooting Mohammed. The bullet traveled upward through Mohammed's left calf and through his right thigh. So I'm going to play the interrogation for you now. I'm not going to come in with my own opinions like I normally do. As a lot of you know, I have COVID and my throat starts to hurt after talking for a while. So if you do end up liking this video, please subscribe. I'll just come in at the very end to tell you the outcome of this case.
Where do you reside in the house?
basement.
In the basement? You share the basement with anybody? Or
The cat.
I mean, with the cat. But the basement's all yours, you and the cat. And how many roommates do you usually take on at any amount of time?
Usually only one.
Just
I
one?
had two for a while.
Mm-hmm.
There is an empty room, the master bedroom upstairs.
Okay.
But nobody's currently in there. It's just the one tenant,
And who is that?
JR.
Okay, and which room would be JR's room?
Well, there's 3 rooms up there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of the small rooms. It's already furnished. He had called me last April. I was having issues with his wife and asked if he could rent a room.
Mm-hmm.
I said, yeah. But all I have is, the one furnished room, which was my daughter's, but she doesn't, she's almost 22. She doesn't,
Gotcha.
she's going to be living on her own soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, I just need to take some of her stuff out, and, sure. Because I've known him for a long time.
Okay,
He works
how
at
long?
Home Depot.
Well, JR works at Home Depot.
Mhm.
Do you know JR's real name? But JR is just what you know him by. Is that initials for a full name, or is it just what everybody calls him?
That's what everybody calls him.
Okay. But
I don't think it's a junior, because he has an older brother.
Right. Okay.
So
And then would that older brother be Mo?
that's his younger brother.
That's the younger brother. Okay. So, so you just have
That's
the one tenant.
That's the one I shot.
Okay. Excuse me. So you just have the one tenant, JR. And you have 3 bedrooms upstairs, and which one is he on the front facing? Do you know which one that JR is living in?
Yeah, when you go up the stairs,
Mhm.
it's on the left.
Okay.
Left of the bathroom. There's a bathroom, and he's just to the left.
Okay. And then there's 2 empty rooms up there that.
One empty room, the other one has stuff in it, storage, that kind of stuff.
Okay. So at this point, it's just you and JR who lives in the house, okay?
Yes.
Okay, and Mo, does he live there or does he just stay there with JR from time to time? How does he fit into the equation?
JR is trying to help him
Okay,
because was kicked out by his parents. He's always in trouble. He's broken in before, not broken in, but he's walked in when the door's been open and come down into the basement higher than a kite. And I asked him, "What are you know, what's up?" He told me it's like some pills, but I forget. I don't know. But I had to throw him out then, and I said, "Don't ever come back."
okay,
And I told his brother. Prior to that, of course, he'd been sleeping on the couch, you know, and I'd come up in the morning and then I'd call his brother, "Hey man, this can't, you know, we can't do this. Guy's out of control, his brother knows." And tonight, you know, he threatened his brother. They got into a fight. I kicked them both out.
okay. Now, when did this happen? What time today would that be?
I'd say about 5:20.
Around 5:20?
That's, yeah. I'm guessing. I'm not guessing, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
So around 5:20, around that time, the brothers are getting into a fight. Where were you at when this fight started?
I was in the basement and JR called me on the phone.
Okay,
And I thought it was to come up and, you know, I told him I'm tired. You know, I'm going to go to sleep soon.
okay.
But I'll come up and say hi.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I was walking into a hornet's nest. I had no clue.
Okay, when he called you, what did he say? Was he telling you to come up? Something's going on with me?
"Hey, Tom, what's going on?
Gotcha.
Are you here?" I said, "Yeah." "You here?" He said, "Yeah. We're upstairs." I heard more than just his footsteps.
Okay,
I thought he had a friend.
sure.
Because he brings friends and stuff.
Right. But no issues with JR?
No.
Okay. All right.
We're good friends.
Okay.
And he looks out for his brother.
Okay. All right.
But he seemed like tonight said that's it. And they were arguing over money.
Okay.
And he said he was not going to leave the house until he got $400.
When you said he said he's not going to leave the house till he gets $400, who's he?
Mo.
Mo? Okay, so Mo said he's not
The
going
guy I shot.
Okay, and Mo says he's not going to leave the house until he gets $400. And he's referring, was he talking to you or was he talking to his brother?
Both of us.
Both of you.
And,
Okay.
and at one point he said, "Even if you got to bail him out, Tom, look, this is you guys, your blood. Why are you even going this route? Why are you guys threatening to kill each other?" And JR, I said, "Look to JR." I had them both sitting down.
Mm-hmm. Now,
I was trying to mediate, but there was
Okay.
no, his brother was not going to listen.
Well, when you said that they were threatening to kill each other, what type of conversation were they having?
Over money.
Right. So I understand they're saying that he wasn't going to leave till he got his $400, but where did the threat come in? Were you saying that who's threatening who to do what? Did you hear that at all?
You mean like a physical threat?
Yeah, well, I heard you had said earlier that they were.
No, it wasn't like showing what, it was
gotcha.
like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you, I'm gonna kill you," you know, that kind of
Okay, they're going back and forth with each
back
other
and
like
forth,
that.
yeah, talking the same, and finally I said, "You guys gotta go.
Okay,
You're making this, you gotta leave."
right.
I still was in touch with his brother, and I said, "Man, he's at the neighbor's house."
What time did you kick them out?
I'd call it half an hour later, maybe 10 till.
Okay, so you said 5:20, so like you said, yeah, about 10 till.
Mhm.
Okay. So at 10 till you kick the brothers out, and where did JR go? Does JR leave? Does JR have a car?
His car wasn't there.
Okay.
It was a Lexus. I don't know who I think JR drove it there,
Okay.
but I don't know who it belongs to.
But tonight when we got there, that Lexus isn't there anymore, right? So you assume that, I guess, JR got around in that Lexus, maybe?
Evidently, it wasn't there.
Gotcha. Okay. But you kicked them out. You kicked them both out at around 10 till, and JR wasn't around anymore. You just could hear Mo outside.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah,
Okay. And what happens? What do
I
you
called JR and I said, "You need to come here and get your brother out of here. He's causing disturbances. He's was at the neighbor's house,
Mm-hmm.
and my neighbor's texting me. You know, and I asked my neighbor. I said, "Is he gone?" He said, "I don't know."
Do you have those texts on the phone there?
I think so. Should
These are texts from who again?
my neighbor
From the neighbor. What's the neighbor's name?
Alfonso?
Alfonso.
He's 8165.
Gotcha. The green door next door.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, at first, yeah, here's the one that says, "I think so." At first, I thought it was his brother texting me. It ended up being my neighbor.
Okay.
And he said, "No, Tom, this is Al." He said something like, you know, he wants to get his clothes. Well, we shouldn't have any there in the first place, but I texted back, he can come between 4 and 5 tomorrow to get him. But he needs to mellow out, you know. Even I told his brother, and his brother said, "Tom, I wouldn't even let him do that." So,
When did you have that? When did you tell his brother that? You actually called the brother, you're saying?
oh, I was in touch with him this whole time,
Okay.
saying, "Come on, JR. I think that's him up there." But
Right.
kicking the door, banging on it. I didn't know he broke it down. That I couldn't tell. I just heard the doorbell constantly, you know, and the knocking loud. And that's when I told his brother, "You need to come here and get him." So I don't want to, you know, deal with him.
Which brother was it that you talked to saying they need to come get him?
JR.
JR.
And JR is about 5 years his senior.
Mm-hmm.
And does his best to take care of him because his parents have disowned him, and I do feel bad in a way. But I mean that, you know. But God bless JR for, you know, trying his best.
Okay. So, at this point, you receive the text messages from your next door neighbor, and you still hear the banging upstairs, right? You've already called JR and explained to him, "Hey, your brother's out of control. Come on and come get him." And he's like, "Hey," and you say, basically, the brother says, "I wouldn't even let him get his clothes. Just leave him out there."
He didn't say leave him out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I told him, I said, "Come get him.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you do. Come now."
Gotcha.
And tell him if he's got clothes, because he told my neighbor
Okay.
that he had clothes.
Okay.
So I texted my neighbor and I told JR he can come between 4 and 5 tomorrow when I get home
Okay.
from work. But he got to cool off. He's got to cool off.
Right.
Because there was no way he wasn't even looking you in the eye. You know,
Okay.
he was ranting and raving. At least JR was calm and But he also was yelling back at his brother.
Sure.
And they were, some blood feud, and I just wanted it to go away.
Sure.
I honestly did, officer, and I feel god awful for what I did
Oh, wow.
this evening. I did not want it to happen. Honestly, and I've upset a lot of people, and I don't know. Have you heard if he's okay?
We're still getting updates here and there. So we really won't know until for a little bit now. But why don't we finish up where we get to the point where you've already made the arrangements, or you send a text message, you say to the neighbor to tell him come back between 4 and 5 and you can get your things tomorrow, but you gotta
He
calm
was
down.
still there.
Okay. And then what happens after that?
He sent me the last one where he said, "I think so," when I said, "Is he gone?"
Okay.
Because I stopped hearing
Gotcha.
the doorbell and the banging.
Okay.
So whenever he broke in, that I didn't hear.
Okay.
Could have been my TV, which really wasn't on, so I don't know why I didn't hear it.
Okay.
But the basement is kind of removed. It's even hard to hear the doorbell because there's not an additional one that goes down there, an additional ringer.
Right. Okay. So so let's get to the point where you come up. What brings you what brings or alerts you to the point that there's something?
Because I heard footsteps.
Okay.
You can kind of feel those.
Mhm.
And I grabbed my gun before I went up.
Mhm.
And as soon as I saw the door, with all the trim and everything it was kicked in,
Mhm.
I knew. Had to be him.
Okay.
I came up to the bottom of the stairs.
You say you're coming up to the bottom of the stairs. You're saying you're coming up from the basement to the bottom of the stairs, looking up to the second floor?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when I shot him, trajectory of the bullet would have gone up.
Okay. Now, at this point where you're at the bottom of the stairs and you're looking up, explain to me how are you feeling? Where are you? How do we get to the point that we pull the trigger?
I had the gun loaded.
Okay. Do you
Shouldn't have
remember?
done that.
Well, do you remember how what type? I didn't see the actual weapon, so I'm not sure how it's loading. Is it have a clip? Is it single
No,
round?
you saw the round that I had.
Sure.
You can only put 3 in.
Gotcha.
I have a rubber band on the end of it
Mhm.
where I keep 2.
Okay.
So it's not loaded until I do it.
Okay. Well, how many did you load?
1.
You loaded 1 bullet?
The other one was in my pocket
Okay.
because I took them both out of the rubber band.
Okay, gotcha. So one in the weapon loaded and 1 in your pocket. Okay. And you do that when?
When I see the door.
When you saw the door open, that's when you loaded it? Okay. Alright. So you load the weapon and then take me from there.
I go to the bottom of the stairs, and I was like, probably said something like, "Is that you, punk," or something, motherfucker, whatever.
Okay.
And he comes up to the top of the stairs, and he's like, "I told you, man, I'm getting my shit." And, officer, detective, I had it aimed. I had his leg.
Mhm.
And to be quite honest with you, when you have it loaded and you have it cocked,
Mm-hmm.
the trigger is a hair. It's not, doesn't take much.
Okay.
I wish I would have missed and scared him. But that wasn't the case.
Okay.
Once I shot him, he fell down the stairs.
Okay.
And he was laying at the bottom. I had his cell phone. He dropped it and asked for it. And was screaming, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die.
Okay.
Before I called 911, I called his brother.
Alright.
And I told him, JR shot your brother, broke into the house. You need to come here now. He said, I'm gonna bring my dad.
So you talked to JR, and he said he's gonna bring his
And I
dad.
said, I'm gonna call 911.
Okay.
Called 911.
What did you tell 911 when you called him?
That I shot somebody, I shot an intruder.
Okay.
And I said, he needs an ambulance now. And please send the police. And she said, where'd you shoot him? I said, his leg. She said, if you can, get something and apply pressure.
Okay.
So I did. He wanted water. So I got him some water,
Okay. What did you apply pressure with?
a towel,
A towel? Okay.
like a hand towel.
Gotcha.
Closest thing was in the bathroom on that floor.
Okay.
I didn't really have anything else. I would have to go downstairs.
Anything you can get to apply pressure is just fine.
And so
I
that's
just more
what
so want to
did.
know for when we go back to look and piece all this together. You know, we want it all to fit.
Well, the blood on the floor there in the foyer
Mm-hmm.
is because he fell down the stairs.
Right. All right. Now, I have one gray area that, leading up to the story or the part of the story where you say you're aimed at his leg and you have your finger on the trigger. Okay, at what point do you decide to pull?
Maybe only a couple seconds.
Okay, why?
Rage.
Okay,
I was, he has this history. And tonight specifically, after what he did to his brother, to me, I wish he would have just left well enough alone and stayed out of the house.
right,
And so I let my temper, my emotions, get the better of me.
okay,
And for that, deeply, but I can't turn the clock back.
sure. So no, I appreciate the fact that that you own that you were in a place that, that you'd had enough. All right. And like you said, my more so is just I just want to understand the totality of the situation.
Detective, I can't justify it. It really was not. Wasn't the Christian-like thing to do, and I'm extremely remorseful. This is gonna tear up my daughter, our relationship. Oh, well, actually, I hope it doesn't, but you heard my ex-wife. We're really close friends. Um, she's been through a couple tough marriages, which I've helped her through, and I've never remarried, but we have a beautiful daughter.
Okay.
They only live right down the street.
All right.
And the lady, my friend that I called, to explain that I can't come to school, is my best friend at the school that I work at during the year.
Okay.
This school is a summer school and it's for special ed. It's a different animal. But I don't have the principal's number, so I called her. Can you please tell the principal in the morning that I'm sorry, I can't be there.
Gotcha.
Because Officer Lingenfelder told me this at the time.
May take a while.
He said you should just call off.
And I wouldn't expect to go back to work tomorrow, even after we're down here today and everything else like that.
Mentally and probably.
Right, it's probably not the best place to be. But not to take you back into it, but to understand. So at the point that he falls down the steps after he's shot, where does the weapon go?
I can't remember where I first put it.
Okay.
It may have been where it was when the officers came. I told them exactly where it was. It was leaning up again in the dining room
Okay.
by the door to where I go down into the basement.
Okay.
I can't tell you, sir, when I put it there, if I put it anywhere else before that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. The type of weapon it is, when you pull the trigger with the actual magazine, not the magazine, but the casing, with that eject, or does that stay inside of the weapon? Is it one of the ones where you have to single load them every time?
No, it's...
What kind of action is it? Is it a lever action or is it a bolt action?
It's a Winchester style,
Okay.
so it's like the Rifleman, the old show.
Okay, so it's a lever action from like you're right-handed. It's a right-handed rifle.
That I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know what the difference.
All right. So, but with your right four fingers, it goes into the hand, like a hand guard,
Yes.
and then
You
you
cock it like that.
cock it down
That will
and
inject
back.
it up and load in that next round. Do you remember doing that?
You can load 3.
Mhm.
I only loaded 1.
They go in the side.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Do you know if you?
It should still
Worked
be
it.
in the gun.
Okay. And that's more so what I was asking, trying to figure out if there is a casing that we'd be looking for, or did you actually work the action? It was after the trigger went off and you saw him fall. That was the end of no additional shots, no additional actions as far as towards him, but rendering aid once he was down the stairs. Now, once he's down the stairs and he falls down, he ends at the bottom. How is it that he gets outside?
He crawled.
He crawled. Okay. So he crawls from the bottom of the stairs outside, then he stops. Now, what happens when you guys are outside and you're actually rendering aid? What type of conversation are you guys having?
Nothing. I'm on the phone. He's listening to me call
Okay.
911.
Okay.
And the only thing he asked for was was water.
Okay. All right. You said he also asked for his phone?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. And so the only time you left him was when?
When the officers came.
When the officers came. And so when you went to get the towel and the water,
That's before anybody came.
Gotcha. Okay. So other than that, when all this happened, nobody else is in the house, and did you notice any other neighbors or anybody else out and about while you were out there?
But my next door neighbor, I'm sure, was because of our texts.
Sure, you guys were interacting kind of all
I'm
the way
sure
up until...
he probably knew,
Right. Okay. How long have you known Mo?
Probably only a month.
Only a month. And out of the times you've known Mo, or in that month's time, how many times have you interacted with Mo?
Maybe 3 times.
3 times. In those 3 times, what type of interactions were they?
Oh, I told you once I escorted him out.
Right. So that's the one time you escorted
He
him
was
out.
uninvited,
Right.
and he came all the way down the stairs. And yeah, he was on something.
Okay.
I took him upstairs, and I said, "What do you want? Don't you ever come in this house again. You're not invited here. I've told you that before.
Mm-hmm.
Get out."
What other times
Mm,
outside of this time?
just when he would come with his brother in
Gotcha.
passing.
Okay. No problems then, no.
Mm, no, but he's, something's wrong with him.
Sure. Okay. How old is Mo? What if you had to guess?
24 or 5.
24 or 25?
I think he's 24.
White male, Spanish male, black male?
They're from Kurdistan, Northern Iraq.
Okay. Does Mo work at all? What do you know about Mo? Anything?
He says he works. I don't know where.
Okay. You think they need their second date?
Did Mo have any weapon on him? Did you see him with a weapon at all? Did he threaten to have a weapon when he came back or while he was there, implying anything like that? Other than,
No. Not,
have you ever seen him with a weapon before?
no.
Okay. And there was nobody else with him that you know of?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. What kind of stature is he?
What do you mean?
Like your build is, how tall and how much do you weigh approximately?
He's small,
Okay. Well, describe yourself first. What's your description?
fat, and ugly.
What's your height?
6'2",
Okay. And approximately how much do you weigh?
250.
And how much when you say he's small build?
He probably only weighs 160, 170.
I'm 5'7". Is he somewhat like my build or?
He's smaller.
Okay. So smaller than 5'7". Is he
He
skinny?
might be 5'7", yeah.
Okay. Is he skinny?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got a lot of tattoos. He's now on a shirt today.
Okay. Any injuries on him prior to this? Like, does he walk with a limp, have any other problems, deformities, anything like that? Okay. Other than breaking into the house, I mean, you kind of, told the truth. You've been honest about kind of how everything went. You were in a rage, as you said. Understandable. Is there anything that he did, like, other than just break the door and be in the house? Was he, was there a threat? Was there an immediate threat at all from his being
No,
there?
no, that happened earlier.
Okay. So in that moment in time, you could always correct me if I'm wrong with what I'm saying, but you see the door. You hadn't heard anything, but you see the door kind of.
No, I heard the footsteps.
You heard the footsteps. That's right, but you didn't. I think you said you didn't hear him break in.
No.
Okay. So you see the door. I'm assuming because I haven't seen it, but it's splintered. What's the condition of the door that you see?
The frame
Mm-hmm.
around the door is off.
Okay. Wooden frame.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How do you think that happened? Do you think it was kicked? Do you think it was hit with anything? Did you see
Had to
anything?
be. It's a deadbolt.
Okay.
So you can't card it. You can't.
Right.
You have to kick it in.
Okay. So
And where the deadbolt is, it tore off the wood.
right. Okay. And when you saw that, that was the point where you loaded the weapon.
Right.
And you loaded with how many?
One.
Just one? Okay. What was your intention when you loaded it? What was your thought? Like, did you have a plan for what you were going to do at that moment?
No.
Okay. And your interaction from there was how, excuse me, how long after you loaded it to the point where you said that you said something up the stairs, or you went to the bottom of the stairs and said something?
Come.
10 seconds,
No,
a minute?
a couple seconds.
Okay, so a couple seconds.
The
And when you-
distance isn't far, it's only 5-6 feet.
Okay, so where, was the gun in a locker, or do you have a gun safe, or do you have it behind your door or in your closet normally? Where's it
It's,
stored?
it's down next to my bed.
Okay.
But
So,
like I said, it's not loaded. I have a rubber band
mhm,
on the end.
mhm,
It's actually one of my daughter's hairband things,
mhm.
and I never have it loaded. But I have 2 bullets on it.
Is that like on the stock, you have a rubber band that's holding those rounds on the stock?
At the very end.
Top part, on the barrel? Okay. So you're in the bedroom when you grab the gun and the round and you load it there and you take a few steps?
No. I was upstairs.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, I misunderstood. I thought you were in the basement where
That's where the gun is kept.
Right.
I guess my understanding was that you loaded it once you realized the door was kicked in.
Right.
I remember you saying a statement like that.
Yes.
So that would have been where?
Upstairs.
Right by the front door, at the bottom of the stairs.
No. About 10 feet maybe from it.
Okay,
I wasn't at the bottom of the stairs until after I loaded it.
gotcha.
Okay. But that was a couple seconds after you loaded it to the point where,
Very, very, yeah, it happened really,
okay. So,
unfortunately, too fast.
right,
And I wasn't thinking.
right, okay. And so when you say something, and is there any delay in him replying to you?
No,
Is it just
because
a
all
matter
he
of-
said was, I told you I'm just getting my shit.
Okay. And then he appeared. That's the same time?
Yeah.
No delay in that, just,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
No delay.
okay. And so
Something like
can you
that.
stand up and show us how you were holding the weapon, the rifle? Because you were saying, was it at your shoulder or was it down at your hip, in other words?
My shoulder.
Okay, so, and you said you were aiming for his leg? Wait, do you know which leg? As he's facing you, was he facing you or is he facing away from you?
It's facing me.
Okay. So when you're aiming at his leg, which leg are you aiming at?
Right.
Okay.
His right.
Right, okay,
My right.
exactly.
Right, oh,
Okay. All right, and you intended to pull the trigger?
No. No, I didn't.
Okay, that was, I said it, but I really was more of a question. So what was your intention when you were aiming it at his leg?
Really wasn't any intent. It was, as I said, rage. I was shaking.
Mm-hmm.
I was upset with his actions. I had already kicked him out and his brother. And I thought his brother was still watching him, but those two, I think, may have gone out and fought. I don't know.
Okay.
Again, I kept asking JR to come. Get your brother out of here. I can hear him. He's up ringing the doorbell. He's up banging on the door. He's at the neighbor's house.
So have you ever taken a gun safety, like a class or anything like that? Ever had any training in firearms? Not at all. But you go to a range at all?
Not for
I mean, have you ever gone?
once in the past 20 years. I've
Okay.
gone with my daughter to show her
Okay.
how to shoot.
Okay.
Before that, with my dad, yeah, often.
But you go to a pay-as-you-go range as opposed to going out in the country somewhere and shooting?
Oh, we had some private property in outside of Winchester when I was a kid,
Mhm.
and And my father had a shotgun, a 22, and he gave me that gun for my birthday, my 12th.
Okay.
So we had 3 guns that we would take, and up there in the mountains, it was a gun range. It was set up for that, but you didn't pay because it was private neighborhood.
Right, gotcha. Okay. So I want to make sure I understand exactly how you're describing it. So you have the gun pointed, it's at your shoulder, and you're aiming for a specific point on his body. So
Actually, I wanted to miss his leg.
Mhm.
Be honest with you, and
Well, it's definitely unfortunate, right, that you hit him. Do you know where you hit him?
well, like I said, his right leg.
Okay, so you were aiming, and that's the same place that you hit. You saw it.
I actually didn't know which leg until we got outside.
Okay.
I had to ask him.
Mhm.
And come to think of it, let me think, it might have been his left.
Okay. Well,
You
so-
know it was. That's what I was applying the pressure. Because both his legs had blood on them.
Mhm.
And I said, Mo, which leg is it? And he said, he pointed. And when I looked, yeah, it was, there was a piece of flesh probably torn out, like right around there.
Mhm. Okay. So when I asked you,
But I was shaking. I mean, I
I'm
can't,
sure.
I can't, you know, I was shaking. I was mad. I was in a rage.
Mhm.
And there's no way I could have hit where I wanted.
Okay.
I wished I would have missed.
Right.
Because that's really what I wanted to do.
Right. So
Scary.
I guess that's where I'm at is, I know you obviously feel terrible about what happened, but to walk through it, you had said you didn't mean to shoot it, but then by what you're saying, you're kind of implying I wanted to miss. So that means that you intentionally pulled the trigger. In other
Right.
words, I'm not saying what your intention of what you wanted to do to him specifically, whether you wanted to kill him or whether what you wanted to wound him. But am I correct in thinking it that way? If you're intending to miss him, then you're intending to fire the gun and miss him, right? So it's an intention.
I wasn't even intending that. Like I said, the trigger doesn't take much.
Right.
It could have even been my shaking. And when I did it, I knew right away I didn't want to do that.
Okay. Fair enough.
But really, I had no intent.
Okay.
And I understand the line of questioning.
Mhm.
I mean, that's,
Gotcha.
I would ask the same.
Sure.
Yeah. And what I was getting at with firearms training, if you'd ever been to a range or anything like that, is there's a cardinal rules of safety. Have you ever heard of those? Okay.
No, they're posted because I have seen them.
Mhm.
And I
Heard
read
of
them, but I don't remember them.
But you've heard of them.
Because the last time I went was at Clark Brothers,
Mhm.
which is outside of Warrenton. And that was the first paid range I've ever gone to where you paid. But again, it's been 20, 30 years.
Right.
And this was maybe when my daughter was a senior, so 3 years ago.
Okay.
That's when I went there.
Okay. So did you read any of those rules?
I did, I don't remember
Okay.
what they said.
Okay.
There were specifics though on, you waited, obviously, to go out to your target. But they had bells and whistles and this and that, and everybody had to stop and put down their firearms. So they were very strict about that, I don't remember anything much else.
Okay. All right.
I know what he's doing. I know what he's been doing is wrong. I know what he did was wrong. But you killed my brother. And even though he threatened that both of us tonight, Tommy's only 24. He said, "You've done a lot for me. You helped me when I needed it. But Tom, you're too smart to do what you did. And I don't care, you know." He said, "He's in my blood. And you killed him." He said, "And I lived with you. And you did this." And I told him, I said, "JR, it's not, I didn't intend to. I really didn't think this would end his life."
We can tell that you're, you know, that you feel really bad about it.
No more than that.
You know, sometimes things happen and we just can't take them back,
I did say that
right?
to him.
Right.
That's who I was on. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well,
He called me.
yeah, we definitely wanted to come in and let you know that. So we need to maybe clarify or talk a little bit more about the moment that you pulled the trigger. There's a number of steps that take place, you know, anytime anybody pulls the trigger on a gun, right? So I wanted to just make sure that we understand where you're coming from. And I think I do. I just want to make sure that I'm clear and that you're making yourself clear too. You have a gun for what reason in your house?
My father gave it to me when
He
I was
gave it.
12.
But one
I mean, it's for anybody who breaks it. You know, I've always thought, that's why I keep it by my bed.
right.
And what if somebody walks in on me or
Right.
something like that, which he did to me
Right.
once.
So it's
Scared me to death.
Is it fair to say that it's for easy access, where you have it?
More or less.
Quick access.
Yeah, but again, not loaded.
Right. Okay.
So even if somebody walked up on me, I wouldn't probably do me any good.
Okay. Right. I mean, it's not like a handgun. It takes a little bit more with a rifle. So it takes a little bit more conscious effort to have a rifle as opposed to a handgun. Is that kind of what you're saying?
No.
I guess, in other words, it's not.
You would
it's
still
more
have to load a handgun
right
as well.
But it's a little more unwieldy. You know, the rifle's a little bit longer. It's
You can't hide it.
correct. Right. Okay. So, as I was saying, there's steps that you take if you're going to use a firearm. The first one is to grab it. The second one is to load it. So you had to load it. So when you're loading it, what are you thinking? I know you said you're in a rage, but what are you thinking at that point?
Wasn't really. It was rage seeing the door kicked in.
Okay. So rage seeing a door could be you go and yell at a person or do something like that. In this case, your rage was, I'm going to grab the gun and load it.
I already
So,
had the
you know,
gun.
Okay. But you load it when you see
The door.
the
kicked
door.
in.
Right? So there's conscious steps that are taking place. You follow what I'm saying? That makes sense? Okay. And then once you load it, what's the reason for loading a gun? Is it fair to say there's a potential for using it? In other words, to pull the trigger. Otherwise, you wouldn't have loaded it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay. So then, once you load the gun,
With an intruder and the door broken, then I
yeah,
just
exactly.
saw-
I'm not taking away from any of that part.
I
I'm just
just
saying.
saw red and I just
Yeah,
raged
sure.
and I,
Okay. So, yeah. So once it's loaded, like you said, you're seeing red. Then there's seconds later. I imagine your temperament's about the same when you yell upstairs. And what did you yell again? Do you remember what you yelled specifically?
not exactly.
Okay. But you're yelling to somebody who you think you know at that point? Or is it you? Or was this an
I didn't see him until he came around
Mhm.
the corner, but I mean,
What was your assumption when you saw the door?
what I assumed, of course, because, you know, he was there earlier
Mhm.
threatening us,
Mhm.
that more than likely it was him.
Okay. And when you yelled, that same thoughts in your head.
But I mean, I'm following your questioning, but again, I didn't plan to shoot him.
Okay. I'm just going through
It
this.
wasn't really my intent.
Okay.
But I see what you're
I follow-
saying, that,
yeah, and
that
I think
if you
I'm-
load a gun, you intend to shoot it.
Right, and
Right.
we're more so just trying to follow, like you said, you're saying it wasn't your intent to shoot it, but to take the additional steps to put it into your shoulder and actually, you know, you say aim in such a way to scare him, you would have to pull the trigger. It had to be a bang to scare him. You know what I mean? So that's where we're trying to understand between those ending steps. And like I said, I do understand we're trying to understand a very, very small window of the time between loading, turning up the steps, confronting, and then deciding what you're going to do. But we want to make sure that we're clear on what you're going to do once you aim it, put it into your shoulder, and what you're going to do. That's what we want to make sure we're clear, because there's several different, when you said, you know, I wanted to scare him, and then the other one was a hair trigger. You know, we want to know what you were intending to do.
So, in other words, you're seeing red, you're in a rage. Those were your words. So, the steps that you're taking don't really add up to I didn't intend to do it, but I'm following what you're saying too. So, you go get the gun, you see something that enrages you, you load the gun, you go to the stairs and say something to this person who you think you know, and then you point the gun, then you put your cheek down and aim the gun, and you aim at a specific spot, and then
More or less. I was
Yeah.
shaking.
yeah, and I'm sure you were,
Yeah.
but at some point, when what you were saying a few moments before we stepped out is you intended not to hit his leg, and that implies that you intended to fire the weapon but miss his leg. Is that accurate?
No, I would say more that I didn't think about any of it really that deeply.
Is it that you weren't? And I think
I'm trying to sort of piece some of it,
so
because
you're not thinking past like what the consequence of it is. Is that what you're saying?
no. I mean, except that
Well, when
once
you
I did it, I mean, I know that when you have an intruder in your house, that if they're not armed, you're not supposed to do what I did. I've read that.
Excuse me.
I know what I did was wrong.
right, and like I said, I understand that, and I can see that you're remorseful. I know that you didn't intend for what happened. You know, the after effects of this. I'm not sure if that really changes that you intended at that moment for that to happen. Like, you just didn't think that he would die. I think that you didn't think that you would hit him, perhaps, but yet you were aiming at his leg. You know, that make sense? So some of it's logical and some of it may not exactly be. It's kind of,
Yeah, and I can't even say,
you know, so kind of, there's some sort of some fighting words between you. You've already seen that he's broken in your door, but yet he's not a threat to you, but you're pointing the gun at him, and it goes off, and you hit him. So, it seems that if you take all of those steps, that at some point in time you intended to fire it, it's just maybe you didn't intend for him to be so seriously injured.
I didn't even intend to fire it.
Okay.
I mean, that's, honestly.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else that you think you should add or say, or anything else that any thoughts of yours about how things went, how things happened tonight?
Detective, I killed somebody. I mean, how am I gonna live with that? Especially when it's my friend's little brother, who had lots of issues. He said, just now, he said, I know he was wrong. I know he's been wrong. I know you can't break into people's homes. I told him when it happened before. I said, he just can't, he just can't come in here whenever he wants, thinks it's his place, crashes here and, he's inebriated and can't even talk.
Did he appear to be intoxicated at all tonight?
Yeah.
Do you think,
Not intoxicated, but on something.
how could you tell? What did you see
No eye contact.
Did you see anything else about his person or notice, odor?
He couldn't, he didn't understand what was being said to him. He was on that one track. I'm getting my $400 from my brother. He owes me $400. This went on and on and on. And he didn't listen to reason. His brother did. When I was trying to keep them from going at each other's throats, they were, fingering each other's faces and stuff. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I separated them, but something's wrong with him. And same as almost every time I see him.
Right.
He has that weird stare, and he doesn't disseminate what's being said to him. It's not registering.
Okay. Do you know of Mo, taking any kind of medications or anything for like psychological problems or anything like that? Just treatment, any diagnosis or anything like that?
I wouldn't know.
Okay. I don't know, I don't think Detective Guyton asked you before, but I was wondering, do you have any kind of diagnosis, or have you taken any medications or have any kind of psychological, like the diagnosis like I was asking? Okay.
I take, I think you already heard, blood pressure.
Right. So
medicine.
More just for medical reasons. Okay. Okay. I think Detective Guyton's probably talking to a prosecutor. They basically we have to let them know what the facts, what we found tonight, what you said, and it's totally up to them what kind of charge is placed. you probably figure that part out. There'll probably be some sort of charge involved. But I don't know what that will be. Have you ever been arrested before for anything?
Years ago, but it's verbal abuse. It was a misdemeanor.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 20, 21,
How old are you now?
53.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, any questions about anything yet?
Hmm. No, not sure, detective.
Now, eventually, the police, they take a DNA sample. They arrest Thomas, as you can see in the video. Thomas was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter, and he was sentenced for around 10 to 15 years in prison. However, in 2018, he was acquitted on appeal, as it was ruled that the prosecution failed to prove that this was not an act of self-defense. Thomas was immediately released. Thanks for watching.